Good morning, Steel Guys world out there. This is Jim Glenn coming to you on we're already in the month of December, the year of our Lord 2025, and it's the third day of the month. It's 10 a.m. Central Time. We're here to talk about the week's news of the metal supply chain. Try to get all you busy professionals out there to stop for a couple seconds and gather around, grab a cup of coffee, and go over some items from the last week and just kind of talk about the market. We're here to facilitate the conversation. Certainly not here to post any expert advice on anything. We're not engineers. We just want to talk about the markets and see what's going on out there and just facilitate the conversation. So chime on in. We are broadcasting this on LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live, as well as a Zoom call. If you're on any of those platforms, we've been monitoring the chats in all three of those. So if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to use them. Use those chats to help us out here a little bit, figure out what's going on. So with that, let me say hello to... let me get his camera working first. We got all prepped up earlier this morning, and here we are ready to go, and we got on a little earlier, and I forgot to update the link. Sorry about that. So let me do that real quickly, as they say.
I'm here in spirit, though.
Yeah, okay, good. You can the audios are working. And so there you go. There he is right there.
Good morning, everybody, or good evening, whenever you're listening to this, whatever it is where you're at. Glad you could join us. We certainly appreciate you chiming in. Like Jim said earlier, we're here to facilitate a conversation and talk about what you all want to talk about. We'll throw out some topics that we're kind of following and talking about, but if there's anything specific that you'd like to have a conversation about within the market, please chime in. We'd love to have you join in on the conversation, and as we kind of do every week, we want to thank our most recent sponsor, the ATL, or Atlantic Steel, I guess is the company name, the new A312 pipe mill that's being built in the Dominican Republic, welded pipe, that is. We're working with them right now to promote their product in the United States. No products being produced yet. We're gathering some market information, so if you'd like to talk to us about stainless steel welded A312 pipe, we'd love to have a conversation with you.
Thank you. And on that note, we do have a bi-weekly update on the mill's construction progress that we share with the market. So if you'd like to be on that mailer, we don't want to send it to everybody all the time that doesn't want it. So if you'd like a copy of that, it's just a memo form that comes out on Tuesday. Probably be next Tuesday will be the next release of that memo, the update. And if you'd like any back copies of that, I'd be happy to send it to you. Just let Scott or I know. And the way to get a hold of us on that is Scott Glenn or Jim Glenn, all one word with two N's on the Glenn at steelrep.com. Send it on over to us, and we'll just request to be on the newsletter, and we'll get it out to you. We'll send you a back copy, the last week's copy, and then next week when it goes out, you'll be on the list to get that. So again, Jim Glenn and Scott Glenn, Jim Glenn or Scott Glenn at steelrep.com, STEELREP.com.
Yeah, and for that same thing, I'd also like to throw out, that's a little our next phase of that whole thing is that we do have a market survey that we've got out in the market right now, and if you'd like to help us out and provide us with some input on your position in the A312 marketplace and some market information, let us know as well at those same contact locations, and we'll send you the survey. We'd love to have you participate in that market information.
Yeah, on that note too, if you'd like, we can call you and talk about it real quick too, just and gather the information as well. So you can find our phone numbers we'll probably put in our profiles on LinkedIn. I know I've got mine there, and we can, can even make it convenient for you. Book our calendars are also on there. You can book a call with us at, and again, my LinkedIn profile is Jim Glenn III, Jim Glenn the third. It's not the third. It's III is the way they put the third. So it's Jim Glenn III, and we're Sunbelt Steel. You can look up Sunbelt Steel and Aluminum Inc. and you can find us. We have a company page there, and from there you can find the people from that as well. So reach out to us, and we'd love to work with you on that. And we need to gather the information, and again, it's part of it is would you be interested in trial order eventually and things like that. Try to get on the books early. One of the benefits of this particular pipe mill is the shorter delivery times, because it's in the Dominican Republic, which is a trade-friendly zone with the United States, and it also is only about, I think, 2 weeks shipping or less to ship it on other instead of from an Asian or a European or other sourcing around the world like that. Again, one of the great benefits. And that'll be half through 4 to start, with the 6 and 8 possibility coming in later on. I think right now we're looking at 10 and 40, but again, if the market needs 80, which I think that leans more to a seamless product anyway, on that smaller sizes like that. So,
right.
Anyway, let's get into the news. You ready for the news?
Sure.
So our prep notes for the week, it says we got some key developments that happened in the last week, and I'll just kind of share the key developments. There's about 5 key developments that we found that are on the high end of the spectrum there. It's so Val, which cut 2026 iron ore output forecast. Oh, it cut its iron ore output forecast amid weak demand and rising global supply. So that's one of the iron ore from the steel point of view. Glencore and other miners rally as copper stays near record highs. I had some comment on that too with the penny. And then also with the global supply fears, copper hits fresh record highs. The London Metal Exchange had traded above 11,400 a ton. Fourth one here is the European Union launches a $3 billion strategy to reduce reliance on Chinese critical raw materials supply chains. I don't know what they're doing mining. We'll have to figure that out here as we go through that. And then the cobalt supply shock deepens as reduced shipments from top producers. Any of those catch your fancy there?
I read an article. This is kind of like a side note to the whole thing on the copper situation. Is with the prices elevated to where they're at the current levels, I heard that there was a city, and I can't remember exactly, but they were having a problem with criminals going and stealing manhole covers. I didn't know manhole covers were made out of copper, but apparently in that particular city they were, and they were stealing the manhole covers. So people get desperate, I guess. But yeah, the copper market's kind of crazy right now. I know that that goes down into the electric vehicles and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know how many tons or what percentage of the production was used in the penny production, but that'll be interesting. I don't know. I know the reason they stopped making the penny is because it was costing more to make it than it was worth. But that must be the stamping and the coinage production rather than just the raw copper. I don't even know what.
Yeah, the raw copper. I mean, the price of copper probably added just a small percentage to that whole overall cost. I heard that it cost like 14 cents to make a penny, but that seems a little extreme to me. But that's why they stopped it, because of the cost outweighed the value.
You sure it wasn't 1.4 cents?
I heard 14 cents, but I mean, I didn't look into it real closely, so I don't know the validity of that data. Don't quote me on it. That's what I heard. I can look it up. I guess we can all Google that. But yeah, I don't. As we've talked about in the past, everybody dig into their piggy banks at home and turn in the pennies. We can solve the copper shortage.
According to the AI overview produced by Google there, the U.S. Mint says it costs approximately 3.7 cents to make a penny, which is about 270% more than the 1 cent face value. I wanted to clarify that because I didn't want to spread rumors that it cost 14 cents and everybody says because the steel guy said so.
Thank you for clarifying that because that's a little different than 14 cents.
I heard it at the steel guys. They said it was 14 cents. I swear.
Yeah, that's Scott Glenn guy passing along false information.
Yeah, and so we have that's the source. I'm citing a source here, which is the Google AI.
And it's not Scott Glenn.
Correct. Yes. All right. It has risen significantly over the years due to factors like the cost of materials. And I don't even know, is it 100% copper? Is the penny just pure? I don't know. Pure, I don't know what pure is, So I don't know, production trend cost. So the cost per coin is more than triple. Okay. That's about it. That's all it really says here. There's nothing really more to add to that on that one. But anyway, my point there was if how much of it's copper and all my pennies that are sitting there, if I got, what are you going to get? 100 pennies is $1. What are you going to get? $3.7. Oh, I guess that way you get $3.70 for every dollar if it was copper. So everybody trading in their pennies. I wonder how many pennies are out there and what that would do to the how much supply of the copper, Again, if it's a supply and demand, is it just demand?
Where the ultimately where the pennies are going to go as they phase them out anyway. I mean, who's going to consume those? Acquire them over time. But anyway, that's a subject for down the road, I guess.
Yeah, there's no value as money, because again, people are going to stop accepting. I don't even know how they're doing that. I don't know how that's figured out. Are they going to round up and round down to the nickel? Is that what they're?
I don't know. I guess if you want to buy something for $1 and you bring in 100 pennies, it's still valid
currency.
Money. Currency, yeah. Interesting.
Well, anyway, how about iron ore? Iron ore, that's another topic here that's kind of that base for the steel. The steel, and I always have trouble saying steel, carbon steel, because steel to me is every type of alloy as well. It's alloy steel. Is steel just carbon, or because they call it stainless steel? So that's steel too, right?
Correct. Just a few more elements added to it, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, iron ore is the base. The base element in carbon steel, and everything kind of grows from there.
Yeah, I don't know. Nickel alloys. Nickel alloys is just an alloy, huh? They don't call that steel, or do they? I've always been. Here we are at the steel guys.
Those are alloy they have alloying elements in it.
Is the base
which
iron ore?
Classifies it as alloy steel. I mean, you got carbon. You got alloy steel. You got 4000 series, which is alloy steel in the flat rolled market. Well, not just flat rolled, but I mean, in the carbon side of things. But then you got alloy steel when you get into the 625s and nickel alloys. Those are nickel alloys. But anyway, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't really. I've heard all those terms over the years.
I took a class a while back on that. Yeah, what happened?
Yeah.
I just got a comment here from somebody here. It just sounds like the federal government, but I don't know where we were at. I don't know where we were at, what we were talking about.
Probably the federal government. It costs 3.7 cents to produce a penny.
Oh, yeah.
The value of a penny.
Kind of like anything they want to run.
Like
yeah. How much does it cost to ship a letter? Well, as much as we'll pay, I guess. They'll keep charging us. They'll keep.
Right.
What are letters anymore anyway, right? How much does it cost to run a Amtrak train from point A to point B? Yeah. How much does it cost for medical costs? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yep.
So anyway, the iron ore, it says Vale revised down its projected production from 335 to metric tons, citing some softening demand and increased supply from new African mines. So I know we talked.
Million tons, I believe, is the 335 million tons.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to take that?
Golly. Well, yeah, hang on.
Hey, Kip, thank you for clarifying that. It is the penny production cost. I guess we kind of assumed that. That was the one thing we're talking. Why does it cost 3.7 cents? Would the private sector be able to do that for less than a penny and still create the penny? Or because you can't have private sector people printing federal money, you'd have to do it. So that's where you run into that. You're still on cam. So anyway, copper has highs. London Metal, it traded above 11,400 a ton as traders and consumers rushed to secure metal ahead of possible supply squeezes and tariff risks. And then the European Union on its strategy to reduce its reliance on Chinese critical raw materials. That was one thing we learned, because I'd asked that question, the difference between rare earths and critical minerals, and then rare earth materials and critical raw materials. So the critical versus the rare earths. How did we say that? A critical metal could be a rare earth, but not all rare earths are critical minerals or metals.
Right.
Because it's a list of 17 metals on the element chart, the periodic table, where the metals, there's 17 of them that are rare earths that are identified in that rare earth category. I think there's 17. And then the critical minerals, metals or minerals, could be copper, which isn't a rare earth, or I think it's copper. Iron ore, for example, it's not a rare earth, but it could be critical if you don't have a supply or need a supply to make stuff for defense or your national security or things like that.
Right.
Let's see here. So another one here, the cobalt supply. Again, I can't remember the cobalt supply shocks from last week. I know we talked about that, but they're critical for batteries and EVs, and they continue to ripple through the supply chains, which are affecting metals beyond base steel / iron. Okay. So the cobalt.
Yeah, I know that in the past we've kind of chatted about lithium being an element or a rare earth or critical. I don't even know which label it had on it, but now it's cobalt. And lithium's obviously an important mineral
element
that goes into EVs and batteries as well. So
right.
The cobalt seems to take a higher. It's higher on the news this week. I don't know how much.
It's fairly expensive, isn't it? Isn't cobalt fairly expensive? An element too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but I don't know what percentage it is used in the production of those products.
Yeah, same thing with nickel.
Obviously enough to create a stir.
Yeah, I remember talking about the nickel and the EV, and the batteries for the EV. The market's going to have to determine, because the amount of nickel in a battery is, I think it's correlated directly to the range of the battery. So the more nickel, the more the range of the battery. So in other words, are they going to make a bunch of cars that do 500 to 600 miles like a gas, or 400 to 500 miles on a tank of gas? Or before they need to be recharged again? Or are they going to make them more for getting around town? Are the electric vehicles going to be more for just, short trips that they can recharge? 30 miles back over there, 30 miles back, and 30 miles over, getting to work and back.
Right.
And you can.
But how big does the battery need to be? And obviously this is going to change as technology changes. But how big does a battery need to be to go 500 miles?
Well, not just the battery, but the amount of elements, the rare earths or the critical minerals, like nickel.
Right, right. But we're assuming that the larger the battery, the more elements that go into it. So
that's correct. It is. That's the correlation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
you can make a cheaper battery with less elements in it, not necessarily bigger or smaller, but it's less expensive to operate and make. And that's going to try to push, so the car will be less expensive overall, and but the range will be. again, that's the thing is, they might have to make just a few cars that have larger ranges, the big SUVs or whatever that need a bigger battery or what, I don't know. But again, I remember seeing that back in about 3 or 4 years ago. That's MSCI conference where the guy talking about stainless steels and nickel was projecting that out. That was kind of what the determining. You can't really determine the future because it has to be based on as the market develops these things. Therefore, what the market then uses, what sells in the market will be determining how much of that nickel is used in the battery manufacturers.
Right.
It just takes time to, it takes that market. You can't always project it because you might say, well, all batteries are 500-mile batteries, and then they end up making 100-mile batteries, and it's, you don't need that. The pricing or the demand for the nickel is going to be less.
Yeah, and we've also seen over time, some of the producers of flat rolled, adjusting their the products that they produce, lighter steels, stronger steels, that go into automobiles, and stuff like that. That obviously you need to make a longer or stronger, more durable product that goes into the cars. It's a lighter, which obviously is going to be better for the longevity of the battery.
Right, and I think that I remember that was a big thing back in the day when they were getting those put together in the steel. I mean, we used to sell slitter tooling, and that became an issue because the stronger steels, even though they were lighter gauges, whatever, they were stronger steels, and you had to adjust your slitting somewhat, and also the type of tooling you need, the type of slitter blade. The way you made the slitter blade was also key to that.
Yeah, but I guess that's just typical for everything, that's progress. You have to adapt. When you change one thing, it affects things down the line, and you have to adjust and adapt. It's even like, I think we talked a couple weeks ago about GM kind of cutting back on their production of EVs just because the market's not as strong as they thought it might be, or something to that effect. I don't remember.
They shut down,
Yeah.
It goes back to the days, I guess, the early 1900s when we were making the transition from horse and buggy to automobiles. There was an industry of people who made whips for the horses and buggies, and they all went out of business because they didn't need any whips anymore. I say whips that time. May sound a little harsh, but guidelines, bridles, they can extrapolate the whole thing. Wheels for buggies as opposed to rubber tires for cars.
Yeah.
Complete axles and stuff like that. But anyway, the whole industry's had to switch. And how fast does that happen? The markets adjust accordingly. You got to build roads, where you didn't need to. You could just do dirt trails before or something. So anyway,
well,
I digress.
That's a whole subject for another day, I suppose. But you get all this new AI coming into play. What effect is that going to have on life as we know it today? AI is going to change a lot of things. Efficiency of different things, productivities, whatever. All the way down the line. Even makings of steel, find out more efficient and better ways to make steel. And anyway, still TBD, but it's going to change things. We all need to be ready to adapt.
Yeah, now that you say that, that gets me thinking. I know this is not necessarily steel; it's more the economy overall. It's like how I've heard like Elon Musk talk about how AI will adapt to where we don't need to do anything, but yet how do you determine who gets this house and who gets that house? Does everybody get the same income? And if so, how do you determine if my level of work ethic is higher than yours? Can I do anything? Or if I guess we're all not working, what happens? And we all live in the same place? Or, I don't know how that would work when you start talking about. That seems like socialism at its extreme, or communism at its extreme.
For sure. But I think that's something that's very, very hard to even view in the future is how that plays out, because yeah, you got AI and there's robotics and all those kind of things, but there still has to be a human element somewhere along the way. I mean, someone has to fix the robotics, whatever. I mean, so there are still things that people are going to be needed for, or are they? I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I know they've kind of indicated that that's not the case, man, because can your AI robot make a new AI robot?
Right? Can it be right? It'll identify the problem and fix it.
Even if you have
faster
robots,
than a human can.
Yeah, I've seen those robots do it. They got them. They can put stuff together and do stuff, and maybe even figure it out. And which way does it screw on? Golly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
it's a little above my pay grade there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the steel guys is going to be around to really see a lot of that happen, but maybe, I don't know, it's coming faster than we think.
Yeah, my mind isn't helping put the rocket ship together to put people on Mars right now. But.
Right. Yeah, no, just kind of watching it.
Yeah, listen a little bit here and there. So what does it mean for the supply chain? What are some supply chain implications for the items we kind of already put together here? And our notes have about 5 things, again, that it affects. And the first one is the input cost volatility is rising. Second is risk for steel mills / iron ore suppliers is a little riskier. Strategic metals scarcity adds a pressure to the diversification and sourcing of metals. Upstream tightness may feed downstream stress. I guess take that, if you take upstream tightness, which would be like taking oil out of the ground, would feed downstream stresses, which would be gasoline in cars or other things, but just a short example there. And then finally, the commodity markets in mining equities are seeing some renewed investor interest. So that's some implications from what we see here. So some money moving from the equities markets out of restaurants, whatever, into mining and metals. Any of those catch your attention?
Those are very broad situations.
Implications. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nothing really catches my eye or my mind on any of those. Obviously, from our perspective, the metal service centers and industrial distributors and those kind of things. I don't know how much it's going to have an effect on those particular people, but obviously they have to watch what's going on in the market and deal accordingly, on their inventory levels and supplies and stuff like that. I don't know if it's going to trickle down that far. Is it going to cause any problems in supply down to that level? I at this point in time, I don't see that happening, but I don't know anybody out there who sees some of that happening. Let us know. We don't see it.
Do you think back to the iron ore, are you familiar with the company Vale? I know it's referenced here, but I'm not familiar with the company Vale. But I guess they're an iron ore producer.
The ski resort, but it's spelled differently.
Yeah, spelled differently. So, I wonder if that's, one of the things we talked about in the iron ore was Chinese steel production was down, and yet their iron ore imports were up a couple weeks ago.
Right. So, we haven't seen that in the news so much lately. Like you said, that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. We saw that kind of simmered down a little bit.
Which is my point here, is how does that relate to Vale's? Because they're seeing the demand, I guess it would be a global demand, decreasing for iron ore, which would mean steel production is going to be down, or it is going down. So we're not, we don't have those numbers here, but I would think that that's what was driving the pricing down. And
Well, I
So
suppose
that,
if the iron ore market is at a level to where they're supplying production that is an overcapacity situation, and people start to cut back their capacity, obviously it's going to cut back on the demand for iron ore. But I think that's where the economics starts to level out, right? I mean, that's kind of the way I see it.
equilibrium exists, when the demand, supply and demand are in
Right.
equilibrium.
Yeah, the old economics 101, I suppose, supply and demand. I mean, that's kind of
Let's demand the supply.
right. And I think it's leveling. I mean, it's a constant evaluation or leveling, or whatever that term is. Yeah.
I'm just kind of looking here to see if there's any notes anywhere. I see any notes. I just noticed the broadcast. It's interesting, but anyway, I'll talk about that later. Let's wrap it up here with kind of going back over our A312 pipe mill that's being put from the ground up in the Dominican Republic. They started construction over there a little while ago. Bought all the equipment, and the groundbreaking's been happening. They're buying the equipment, the mills, and start shipping pretty soon over there. They'll have it all hopefully up and running, and trial runs in April, with shipping in May, early May, and half through 4-inch, 10 and 40. I'm assuming it's going to be the original 304 316. And is there anything else in there that you can think
No,
of?
I mean, once again, I mean, we're talking about the pipe mill. I just throw out again, if there's anybody out there that has an interest in the pipe mill, please let us know. We'll send you the updates, and if you have the opportunity to fill out our survey, we sure would appreciate any help we can get out there on market information. So reach out to either Jim or myself.
Yeah, we want to make the mill as productive for you, and keep our costs in line, and make a good product, good quality product at a competitive pricing structure. And again, we're looking to find those people that we can do business with. We're a long-term outlet. We don't like doing short-term business, the spot buys, which is more of a contractual thing where we can keep supplying distributors, and we do want to work with distributors that are out there.
Yeah, that's a key point. Yeah, for sure. We are going to, we're going to go through distribution. We're not going to try and sell end users. So we are looking for those distributors out there.
Right. If you'd like to be the first in, make that relationship last forever and have a good source of supply on your half through 4-inch and 6 and 8 eventually. And short lead times, good import costs, import pricing, and love to talk to you. Again, Jim Glenn at steelrep.com or
Scott Glenn at steelrep.com. 2 T's, 2 N's.
Oh, 2 T's. I always forget about that. My Jim doesn't have 2 M's. It's just one. JIMGLE.
Yeah.
Double N, his dad used to say. I always like that. Jim Glenn, double N.
Double N.
Right. At steelrep.com.
Well, yeah. Thanks for joining us out there. If there are any subjects or topics that you'd like us to throw into the mix, reach out to us again. We'd love to hear from you.
We'll be live again in 2 weeks on the 17th for our 10 o'clock a.m. timing. We just put that together a little while ago. We will also be doing a special event next week. Keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll be emailing the marketplace and doing the same thing live in the YouTube, LinkedIn, and we're trying to do a Zoom webinar, and we'll send out links to all that stuff. So if you're interested in getting notified on that, please let us know. It'll be an A312 overview and a little bit of updates on our the progress of the mill.
Okay. Well,
Keep running. And we
again,
do have the time.
Have a great day.
We do have that date picked, don't we? Yeah. What was it? Wednesday, Thursday of next week?
Was it
Do you
Thursday?
remember?
I think. Was it Wednesday?
Let's see.
I think there might have been a schedule conflict on Wednesday
Yep,
or something.
there was. Yeah, it's actually Thursday the 11th.
Yes.
Thursday the 11th at 10 a.m. Central.
There you go.
Look forward to seeing you then.
Right here.
In the
Okay.
meantime, have a good week. Look forward to seeing you guys at that event next week. Thank you, Scott.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Jim.
See you later. Bye bye.